I'm going to wear my art review hat. Because we're reviewing art. ODcast. 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 Is that going to be the intro?
Sure, why not? You look very handsome today. Like, I don't know, it's the lighting or something, but you just look very fresh.
It's amazing what a hat will do
you're
to a
glowing,
bald man.
You're glowing. Here, cheers to your skin routine.
I have none, but thank you. It tastes like rubbing alcohol.
It does. Episode 10 of the ODcast.
Yes.
An
A special field trip edition. We took a field trip to prepare for this one.
And the topic is Salvador
Dalí. Or Dalí, as I learned to say in elementary school. Everyone just called him Dalí. Salvador Dalí. But there's an accent.
I even made a joke about it over there at the field trip that we went to. Dolly Parton, Salvador Dalí, and the Dalai Lama.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I just think it's funny how those two vowels, is it vowels?
I'm gonna turn this up a tad.
Yeah.
Hello.
Just has different meaning compared to what culture you're at.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this is our first artist of the podcast.
Right.
Like,
we've reviewed movies, music, and now a painting show at a major American museum.
10 episodes, man. It's going by so quick and so slow at the same time.
I know. 10 episodes, it's been like half a year.
And we did this in September.
Yeah, which is how many months ago? It's April 1st.
8 months, I believe. 7, 8 months.
It's over half a year.
Yeah. I do want to make a quick correction / my bad from episode 8 with Lineker and
it's about the manual transmission.
that the manual transmission is one. You know, I use my left feet only on the clutch and I use my right on the speed and the gas and the brakes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I was thinking the opposite, because if you do that, that wouldn't work. The other correction I want to make, which is AMAB and AFAB means assigned female at birth and assigned male at birth, not I feel so bad. There's another correction I wanted to add, but I forget what it was in the top of my head.
You can correct that next time.
Yeah, next time.
Along with whatever new corrections we have for today.
For Dalí and the Through and Through episode.
I don't think we said much that was wrong. I'm paranoid. I need to check the...
Be paranoid, Mr. Android.
Probably good. I'm taking a cue from Mr. Salvador Dalí and being paranoid, inciting a paranoid state to be more creative. Let's get you a table for that.
Okay.
How about this snare drum?
I was going to say.
It's slightly leaning, but it should be pretty stable.
Okay. I'll make sure not to get it wet, because I know you are a fan of dry snare sounds.
I've been doing a lot of mixing lately, and actually the snare is the one part of the drum kit that I do add reverb to. It gives it a nice extended tone.
Do you have a favorite snare sound in rock history?
Oh, that's such a hard question. There's so many, and they're so different. There's so much variety in snare sounds. Some are deep and fat, and some are really crisp and high.
Yeah.
What do you like?
I don't know. I like the reggae ones where it's super reverby, but I also like the dry ones, like the Motown era, Philadelphia R&B from the 60s and 70s kind of vibe.
Yeah.
I will also add 1950s Chicago blues. I like the snare sound from that.
I
It's
don't know
it's just
the
really
era
dry.
well enough to know what
Yeah.
that sounds like, but I'm assuming it's recorded pretty lo-fi.
Pretty
just
lo-fi.
like
It's
room
really
mics.
dry. Room mics, yeah. Yeah, but I dig it. It's a nice sound.
Cool.
Yeah, cool indeed. Cool indeed.
That tangent brought to you by using the snare as a coffee table. But we should probably get into it because we're doing one of our double features today. We're going to record
Are
2
we?
episodes.
Really, we are. Okay, let's get to the nitty gritty.
And who knows which one's going to come out first. Whichever one I feel like editing
Yeah,
first, I guess.
whichever pleases you the most.
Yeah, we'll see how this one goes. It's an experiment in talking about an art show, which I don't see a lot of other podcasts reviewing.
We're so creative. We're so original. We're the best. Watch out, Joe. What's his name? That famous actor, that Alec Baldwin. Alec Baldwin. Didn't he have a podcast for a little bit?
So many actors have podcasts.
Jay
now.
Leno had a podcast. Conan still has a podcast.
Yeah, his podcast is pretty good. I was just watching his episode with Phineas and Billie Eilish.
How was
just
that?
posted
Phineas
this
is the boyfriend, right?
No, he's the brother.
The brother. Oh, the smarts behind the band, behind the group,
He's like produced all the music.
and written the lyrics too.
I think that's a collaboration. I think
Collaboration?
Billy has a lot to do with the lyrics. I'm just guessing because Phineas's solo music. Hate to be a hater, but it's not very good compared to Billie Eilish. Even just the songwriting. So I think she has a lot more influence than they would lead you to believe, or Phineas would lead you to believe. He's a great producer, though. I think his sound is amazing, and the fact that he's doing it all himself, like in Logic, and it sounds that professional,
Really?
is pretty impressive.
Okay. Gives me inspiration to fool around with Logic more. I went to a TikTok tangent a long time ago, and they're making a prediction that Billie Eilish might die sooner than later, and it's all by analyzing her eye. I don't know if you heard about this. Like, there's that whiteness underneath your eyelid. If you have a lot of that, it's a sign that you're gonna die soon. Because all the famous celebrities had that, like Marilyn Monroe. I forget who else, but Billie Eilish has that.
What is it exactly?
Like,
There's more of a white of
You
the
have more
eye?
whiteness underneath here,
Wow.
Yeah. I forget what it's called, but yeah.
I think her and
My
her
anatomy
brother,
of the ear is bad right now. Oh, the eye is bad, not the ear too. But anyways, what? Your brother? The brother?
No, her and her brother Phineas, they both seem to be cursed with like premature aging genes. Because Phineas is like 24, or actually he's probably in his late 20s now. But when he was like 23, he looked 35. He's like just got a lot of wrinkles and like looked like a mature ass man at 23, 24. And now Billy's in her early 20s, and I feel like she even looks a bit older than she is. So it could be part of that the white of the eye thing is just a sign of
be.
aging. And I don't think it means she's gonna die.
I don't know. We'll see. Will she be part of the new 27 club? New member of the 27 club? We will find out.
Those were all
I'm
like
so morbid.
those were all really living on the edge drug users, and like there wasn't as much education about what heroin and alcohol will do to you. I don't think when all those 27 Club people died, unless you count like Amy Winehouse. That was more recent. But I think Phineas has a good Billy has a good head on her shoulders. She was not going to succumb to the 27 curse.
Do you think she uses Head and Shoulders for her hair?
Probably not. Probably some fancy female shampoo or something.
That only celebrities and rich people can afford?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
I see
has
that.
ivermectin in it or something.
Yeah, isn't that like the scrotum of babies? Of Korean babies?
That's what I was trying to say, but
Yeah.
ivermectin's like something about COVID and horse tranquilizer or something. Or not. You're thinking of, what's it called?
I don't know. Well, I just remember watching an interview with Sandra Bullock talking. Bullock? Sandra Bullock talking to Ellen DeGeneres about it. It's like, this is why my skin looks perfect.
She admitted to using it?
Yeah.
God.
Isn't
now
that
I feel
crazy?
dumb that I can't remember
Dude,
the
it's
name.
a long word too. So don't feel bad. I don't even know what it is, so don't feel dumb. But I want to ask you this question about paranoia, since you said that. What was Dalí's quote about paranoia?
Well, his art style was called the paranoiac critical method. And I
Mhm.
was reading about it that he would try to induce a state of paranoia, like thinking that the world's out to get him or something, and then use that to make art.
Mm-hmm.
I'm missing some steps in between. He was also into like letting himself start to fall asleep to get to that hypnagogic state.
Yeah, let's stop it there because I was going to ask that. Have you used the paranoia method on your art?
No. I mean, I'm naturally very paranoid, but if I'm like high on weed or something, that makes me extra paranoid, and I don't like to make art when I feel that way. I like to be more sober.
Can you remember an artwork that's the most paranoid manic paranoid episode you've ever had?
Yeah, there are quite a few. I made a few drawings on shrooms that were interesting, and that like I'm like definitely riding the line between paranoia and keeping it together when I'm tripping. So, can we talk about this? It's still illegal. Are we going to get busted for admitting to shroom hallucinogenic use?
I mean, they're fighting it for it to be legal, so.
That's true. And it's not like I possess any.
You don't possess anything.
No, I've
you
never
don't.
possessed anything.
I mean, as of now, you don't.
Right.
Yeah.
I've only ever been given things against my will by you, Oscar.
Especially that time we went to that Burning Man event. That was crazy.
Never been to that.
I know.
Sorry. I don't even want to put that lie out in the universe. Those people seem like, I don't know.
I think they're interesting, man. It's an interesting thing. It's just a shame that you have to be spending a lot of money just to experience that event.
How much do you think it costs?
Like at least minimum $3,000.
See, that seems low to me. Like you're camping out in the desert, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure it's like the Fire Festival or something. It just costs a ton of money and probably is a really weird experience. Or maybe it's great. I don't know.
I guess the only way to find out is to try it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you paranoid experience. You've only done that. Can you explain the image that you drew, that you painted?
Trying to think. Like I
know
was
I'm putting
saying,
you on the spot.
I feel like I need to be in a very calm, content place to want to paint. So it's kind of like it's rare that I'm going to work on an artwork when I feel bad. So when I was in school and I felt the pressure to make art whether I wanted to or not. Those are when I'm thinking of. I had some paranoid moments in my studio. And those were not good times. I wish I could have just like not made art, but I think forcing myself and pushing through it was healthy for me to experience what that's like. And now I just do other stuff if I don't feel like painting. And my paintings are usually come from a more happy place.
That's good. That's good. That means you're feeding the soul.
Yeah.
You're making your inner child happy.
Yes.
You should be proud of that.
Thank you. Thank you for the pep talk. I do find it fascinating that Dalí's method was like that, and like, why did you stop me before we talked about the dream thing? Do you have
Because
something
the
more
dreaming
specific?
one is another interesting method, which is completely different and arguably the opposite. Because, like, you got to put yourself literally like you're about to go to sleep, but then you have that weird small window where you wake yourself up and start doing the work. And I'm talking about personal experience here. Sometimes I have some amazing ideas as I'm sleeping, and I tell myself, I'll work on it later. I'll do it later. And then what happens? I forget it, or I don't know what it is. So it takes a lot of discipline. It takes a lot of discipline to wake up and do that. Granted, he was sleeping like on the table and he was holding something heavy to do that. While I'm doing it, I'm sleeping, like, I'm laying on my bed. So his experience is different, but he also has that motive, like, I'm going to finish an art piece, But I think that motive, that experience of that state of dream, subconscious and the conscious is so interesting, weird, and I guess one of these days I want to accomplish. And did you ever do that?
To like wake up from a dream and immediately make art about it?
Or kind of being like in a not like a daisical, like not aloof, is that the word?
Lucid?
Not lucid one, but like aloof. Aloof, yeah. Have you ever been to like an aloof person like moment?
Nothing specifically coming from the dream state. I've done a lot of that, of like dreaming and then having an interesting dream that I don't want to forget, so I'll immediately like whip my phone out and type it into my notes thing in like broken English. And
Yeah.
those are fun to read back because I'll read them like a week later and have no memory of the actual dream beyond my my text description. So I'm glad I have those. And I've heard Radiohead, the band, like used to like trip on Ambien. They would take Ambien to like the sleeping pill to make you fall asleep, but they would force themselves to stay awake, like drink a bunch of coffee or something. But their brain kind of goes into that half dream state while they're still able to jam and write songs.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how apparently they wrote some of their music, is by like dream tripping, basically. It's super cool. To me, I feel like you don't need to do that, because the creative process, if you access like your subconscious through creating something, it's as good as dreaming, if not more controllable and more interesting, because you're actually awake, but your mind is elsewhere and you're just maybe making shapes on a canvas, and it feels like a dream by the end. And it still came from you and your subconscious. It's just like not literally you trying to depict what happened in a dream, which I always feel is a little bit static and forced to like have a dream and then here I'm going to make a painstaking rendition of it. That's kind of boring to me. I would like the painting to just kind of manifest itself, like as if it has a mind of its own, and that to me feels more like a dream.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
I see that a lot in your artwork, and which is nice. You definitely like to distort the images of reality and what is a dream world. Which reminds me, I know you didn't give it a chance for last time, but you should give it another shot. You should read The Sandman. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Watch the
I would
TV
like
show
to.
too if you're into. But yeah,
It's about dreams, right? Like a dream.
Yeah, the guy who controls or is the ruler of the dream world. It's about a day in the life of that person. Without ruining that much, I really want to give you like an open, ended conversation about it, without ruining it.
Cool. Is it better than Inception?
No, it's different. Way different. It's way different.
I'll take that as a no.
Yeah.
Because Inception, I think, is like the coolest dream movie ever made.
Oh, it totally is. But like Inception is basically, 2001: A Space Odyssey, but with dreams.
Yeah, it has a more like scientific, clinical tone to dreams, but I kind of like that as opposed to like super dreamy surrealism, which I'm not always in the mood for. But the more like scientific approach to like, this is what we're doing. We're going 3 levels deep, a dream within a dream within a dream, and it's like explained with science. It's kind of cool. And I was binging a bunch of Dalí content on YouTube this morning, like trying to get in the mindset of this. And
can you do a Dalí impersonation in English?
I can't roll my R's. Yes, can you? I was going to ask you actually if you can do some.
Give me a sentence.
Well, I saw him on the Dick Cavett show, and he said something. The sentence was like, "It's a tremendous," and he did a tremendous something. I forget what it was,
It's
but
tremendous what?
fuck, I don't know. it was a very hard to follow interview, and Dick Cavett was being such an asshole and like not and just laughing at everything he said. But he was trying to explain himself.
It's a tremendous time, like that.
There you go.
It's a tremendous time.
Yes, he rolled the R so comically
Tremendous.
long.
Did you know there was a moment, like a night, like it was one of those situations where they could have, if things aligned, it would have worked. That Frank Zappa and Salvador Dali would have met one night and started playing music, record music.
Does Dalí play anything?
No,
He would have just been like sung lyrics or something.
or just banging on shit. You know.
He hung out with Alice Cooper a lot. Did you know that?
No, I'm kind of surprised about that. That's funny.
So like you
Yeah.
saying Zappa, that's not
And-
that far fetched.
And do you know who discovered Alice Cooper?
Zappa?
Zappa. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Zappa was trying to convince Cooper to play to be in his record label, and Cooper was really close on doing it, but he decided not to. So,
I see.
man, with this stupid Zappa trivia information, I know. I kind
Wait,
of hate myself for that.
No, it's cool. Someone's got to carry on that knowledge.
Yeah,
He has a
sure.
lot of fans. He's an important member or like figure in modern music.
Yeah, but he's one of those. He's one of those people where he complains like nobody gives me enough respect, nobody gives me enough homage or tribute, and then when someone does it, it's like, oh, here, you're great. He's like, no, I don't need it from you. I'm like, then what the fuck do you want? Stop complaining. Stop bitching.
Well, he hasn't been doing that for a long time.
What?
He hasn't been complaining for a long time.
Oh yeah, thank God. Come on. Yeah, I was gonna say something really disturbing, but yeah, you thank God.
Does Dweezil complain similarly about people not respecting his dad and his legacy?
No,
and
I
stuff?
wouldn't say complain. It's more like he's working really hard to make his dad's legacy a thing, which is nice,
Yeah. You've seen Zappa play Zappa live,
3 times.
right?
Yeah,
Jeez.
3 times. Yeah.
Does it feel like you're watching Frank?
No.
Yeah, they don't even really look that much alike.
No.
And just little I know of Zappa, Dweezil seems like a different style of guitar player. He's more like refined and precise
He
or
loves
something.
Eddie Van Halen.
Yeah.
That's his kind of thing.
but he doesn't really play like Van Halen either. Because who does? No one
But like,
really does.
I mean, back in the '80s, he was a lot. He was like a VJ in the MTV world, and you could always see him with a guitar, just doing like shredding and
While
doing all that stuff.
VJing?
Yeah, it's like
That's so
up next is Guns N' Roses. That kind of
That's
shit.
fucking lame.
Yeah.
He's
But-
just showing off his guitar
Yeah,
skills
but-
while VJing.
I prefer his other brother, his brother Amit, where 'cause he was the bald one. I mean, he had hair back in the '80s, but he was the bald one, and he was being super goofy and aloof. But he didn't use an instrument; he just used his personality.
What did he do? I didn't even know there was a Ahmed Zappa.
He was just his croaky personality. That's what he does. So, I mean, the last thing I remember that he did is he wrote the script for this Disney movie. Forget the name. It's something Green Gables, not Anne of Green Gables. Something like, basically this couple working hard to have a child and they couldn't do it. So they went into a manic state and they decided to grab all these things to make a child, like a teddy bear, because they want to be loved and all that stuff. And then they buried it in their backyard, and then the next day a child appeared. So
Okay.
I haven't seen it, but Ahmed Zappa wrote that. So it's interesting. Okay, enough with the Zappa. Oh yeah, we're talking about Dalí. Okay, the tangents. You saw the Dick Cavett show, and why was Dick Cavett being a jerk? He has a reputation of kind of being a jerk.
See, I've seen clips of him
Nice.
interviewing various people. He's usually really nice and
Yeah.
like affable guy. But to Dalí, he was like clearly making fun of his not being the best at speaking English. And Dalí, I know he has a reputation of like jamming 3 languages together, like a word in
Yeah.
Spanish, word in French, word in English, and just mixing it up. And I think Cavett knew that, and he was like asking, like, "Are you using more than one language right now?" But Dalí was, you can tell he was genuinely trying to communicate. This was pretty late in his life, and it was just sad. And at one point, Dalí says this like, very thoughtful thing about dreams, and he's talked to me about his process. And then Dick Cavett just looks at him when he's done talking, and then he goes, "Booga booga,"
Are you serious?
and then he like laughs it off. He's like, "I'm so sorry. I don't know what came over me. You just have an effect on me, Mr. Dalí."
Oh my god.
It was such a jerk moment.
Oh my god.
Is Dick Cavett still alive? He's kind
No,
of
I think
really
he's
old.
dead. I think he's dead. There's
sure?
also interviews about him interviewing black people, and you can tell like some racist, like there's some racist undertones. I mean, granted, it's
Yeah.
that period where he thinks it's
Right.
okay to ask those questions, but like, ooh,
Yeah,
not good.
He seems like a guy who just hides behind his like having natural charisma to
Yeah.
say like he's not really a nice person.
But I will compliment him in this pattern, in this situation. Out of all the TV show night show hosts, I like him in the aspect that he likes to have like an intellectual conversation with someone. Unlike
Unless they're Dalí.
yeah, well,
He's just
yeah,
making
yeah,
fun
but
of
like
them.
he has a reputation of having like a serious conversation with someone. Unlike other people, like what I like Johnny Carson, but Johnny Carson has a shtick about just trying to poke and make fun of or hearing funny stories, and that's it. And
Yeah.
he's the poster boy of how to be a night show host. So I'll give Dick, it's his name Dick Cavett, right? I'll give him credit for that. But there is an interview I saw Dalí do. It was when he went to Mexico, and he was a huge jerk. Dalí was a huge jerk. But I'm gonna defend Dalí on this one because what happened was there was this Mexican reporter just nagging that he wants to have an interview with Dalí, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And he refused. I don't want an interview. But in the end, he managed to get an interview. And then the fucking news reporter asked some of the stupid questions. I mean, at first, when I first saw it, I was like, fuck you, Dalí, for being so rude. But then the more I think about it, is like, the news reporter should have, you know, if he has this opportunity, he should have asked some good, legit questions. One of the questions was this. As an artist, how would you start drawing? Where would you start doing your art? And his answer is, I'm not going to answer that question to you. You would find that out if you went to read an art book, like how to do art. Everybody knows how to do it. It's by drawing, sketching.
Mm-hmm.
You're wasting my time. Another question. Something like that. And you can tell the news reporter's like, oh. But like, Dalí has a point. Like, if you're going to be there, ask good questions.
I mean, something I'm guessing by hearing that something must have rubbed him in the wrong way about the guy and the way he was asking like pretty basic technique questions.
Yeah.
But like, I think there is a way you can ask someone like Dalí how he makes his work, because I'd be curious to know like exactly what the steps are, because his technique is so next level. And like, he's as good as people from the Renaissance and Baroque period when like those paintings still hold up 500 years later. Like, no one today can really paint like that. But Dalí has a unique style that's just as technically impressive. So you say he just starts with drawing? Probably.
Like, how would you start as an artist? That was the question.
It wasn't specifically like how he starts a single painting?
No, just him. How would you start as an artist to do art?
Oh, yeah.
So it's a stupid question.
Not really.
I thought it
But
was a stupid
there's
question.
a stupid way to ask it, I'm sure.
Maybe, but he gave like just a really like condescending answer. Like, he was not even looking at the reporters. Like, next, like, yeah, it was. It was. He is really. The more you look into his personal life, he's complicated, very complicated.
Yeah, you seem to know a lot more about his biography when we were at the show, but I watched an hour-long biography also on YouTube, on Biography, the YouTube channel, which was like incredibly good, well-produced interview.
Yeah.
Not interview. They interviewed a lot of like people from his life, including some women he had affairs with while he was married to Gala,
yeah. Ooh.
and talking about their whole life together, which is super fascinating, the story. We don't have to recap the whole thing, but something I didn't know before this is that when he and Gala first like got married and became super close, he started signing his name as Gala Salvador Dalí on paintings. Like, she was part of his identity. Even though she was not an artist, she didn't actually work on any of the work, but she was that responsible for his work. He, in his mind, that he was signing her name as well as his own name.
Wow. I mean, that's kind of progressive in some ways.
I guess, but
Yeah.
if it's
Kind of romantic, toxic,
Yeah.
toxic, but romantic.
she seemed toxic only in the sense that like when he started, his health started failing and he wasn't being as productive, she was like forcing him to make more art and really like a like
A victim of elderly abuse starts whacking him like, do more art, damn it, do more art. Don't you love me?
and she
Your
was
penis isn't working like it used to. At least do something with your hands.
I don't think she cared about the sex because she apparently had a lot of young affairs, like young
I
men and boys.
heard they were into weird kinks too, both of them. Like,
Voyeurism, hosting big orgies. This biography said it was like a living painting that Dalí would kind of like orchestrate people having sex and stuff, which wild stuff.
one thing I loved your reaction during our trip in the Chicago Art Institute is when I said to you that I asked you if you thought if Dalí is gay, and you're like, maybe he's bi, and then like 5-10 minutes later we saw so many penises. You're like, maybe he is gay. He's like the Georgia
Yeah.
O'Keeffe of men.
That's true. Instead of vaginas hidden in flowers, he has penises
Yeah.
everywhere you look.
Everywhere, yeah. Horse
Yeah.
muscles blending with other bodily objects. That makes you think, is that a penis? I mean, no, maybe it's not. Maybe it is. It's kind of veiny, really muscular too.
I mean, the penis is just like a phallic shape in general is pretty common in nature. There's a lot of like fruits and vegetables and just various things that could be, or like the phone receiver in that one painting that's supposed to be about the war
Yeah.
kind of has a phallic shape too, especially when it's like kind of melting. I don't know. There's some just obvious penises connected to human male bodies in his work, so you don't even have to read into it too much. Like those are obviously penises. And since he liked to watch people have sex, men and women, then yeah, he probably got pleasure from seeing the male body in action, sexual action. But since you brought up the show now, should we like take an imaginary tour with our viewers through the show?
Sure.
Because we have a little bit of a time limit here. Like, I think I have about 30 minutes of footage from my phone, which I stuck in my shirt pocket.
Are we going to see the whole thing?
Well, we can just have it on in the background.
Okay,
And
okay.
like a lot of it is just the phone looking at the wall because I wasn't aiming it. I didn't want to be like one of those people just walking around.
No.
So
But was it pretty good for what it was?
you can
Like-
see some clear views of the. I'm going to turn the sound off. And what I can do is kind of like.
Talk it out like commentary?
Yeah, but not. I'll just like show clips of it when it's relevant, when it's actually showing a painting.
I'm not trying to brag, and I'm sorry if it sounds like a brag, but when we were there, did you and talking about the art, like this looks like this blah blah blah, or I did this a lot. I don't know why I do this. I'm not even an artist. I go really close to look at the brushstrokes, and I'm kind of amazed by that. Sorry, it sounds like a brag. Like I said, do you think when we were talking, did you feel like there were people listening to us? And like hearing our thoughts, because I heard like once we were talking, I felt like people were quiet. I felt like there was someone I was being watched.
Oh, interesting. Maybe. I don't know. I didn't really notice that, and I did feel a couple times we were saying something that obviously the people right next to us would have heard because it was a pretty packed show. It's funny that you say that. Maybe if we listen back to it, we'll hear. Will this be distracting? If we
No, I think
actually
it'll be
hear it?
very distracting. See, we can't even hear it that well. Yeah, that's okay. No worries. One thing that's fascinating of Dalí is that I'm surprised how much he loves working on small canvases.
Yeah, some really tiny canvases.
I thought he's kind of like bigger than normal kind of dude. Like 12 feet is too small for him kind of thing.
He has a few paintings like that. Like the Last Supper one that you mentioned is really huge.
Yeah.
It's about 12 feet.
Which is in New York, right? Or
No,
Washington,
it's
D.C.?
in D.C.
Washington, D.C.
But the first ones in the show are some of the smallest paintings I think I've ever seen. For like, there's a complete scene in there. It's a close-up of Gala's head, and apparently her hands are supposed to look like pork chops or meat or something for some reason. Hey, there's you.
Oh my gosh. Man, my name, you know that Shakespeare quote, what's in a name? Like, you're not what your name is. You can be whoever you are. Your name is unimportant.
Yeah.
But then I look at this, it's like, man, maybe my name does fit who I am.
How so?
Oscar the Grouch, lives in the trash can. Look very low maintenance. I do drive a Honda, so.
I feel like Oscar the Grouch. When did Sesame Street start? I guess
1969,
that's before our time.
1970,
Okay.
1971.
Never
1972
mind.
in there.
I guess it does. The name Oscar the Grouch came first.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we were both looking kind of scruffy that day.
But okay, I was gonna say other stuff, but I'll digress. What's amazing about Dalí? So many things. I just like his small details. Like you said that. Like I don't know the proper word, but like there are moments where you can make the oil look smooth, and there's other moments where it's really thick, and he blends both of them.
Yeah. There was that one painting, I think the one of William Tell with a few penises in it. And there's, for some reason, one patch in the corner that has like some thick, crusty oil paint. A lot of his work is pretty smooth, I would say, for considering it's oil painting from the 20th century when he was making a lot of those paintings, like thick, textured paint was kind of in vogue. You could say it still kind of is. Like since Impressionism.
Explain this to me, and maybe some people have to charge you to know this form of skill. But how can you make an oil piece look so smooth without any kind of brush strokes? Because he's a master of making it look like there's no brush stroke. How do you do it, Dylan? Or are you still trying to figure that out? You told me like there are certain techniques here and there.
It's really all in the hands. Like, you know how guitarists say tone is in the fingers?
Yeah.
Like texture and paint is in...
Is it the wrist?
Just the physically how you manipulate the paint. It's
the
it's
elbow?
hand movements and wrists, but it's actually also the brushes.
The brushes
make a big difference. And to get that kind of soft, smooth texture, you do have to be using pretty soft brushes and a lot of like...
Big ones or small brushes?
Both. Big ones for like a big sky with clouds, but small, really tiny ones for small details.
What were you more amazed with his big details or his small details, like the texture of a woman's hair versus the brushedness or the softness of the sky? You can say both, obviously, but I want to ask you that.
Well, even the big paintings have those tiny details in them. So I will say I was most drawn to the big canvases that they brought from, I think some of them came from Paris, the d'Orsay or something, Musée d'Orsay.
Which you still need to go, man.
I do, I know. But that one big one with the vase that's kind of a face in the middle and there's like a landscape is really amazing. I've only ever seen that in books or the internet. And then there was that William Tell one. I've never even seen that painting in reproduction before. So that one was really cool. And those were two of the biggest ones, I think. That one really big one that's in the last room that's owned by the Art Institute is kind of bad. And it almost looks like a fake.
Yeah, and also like not only looks like a fake, like really rushed. Maybe not done by him, you know?
Yeah, it's like the hand is totally different.
And then like the building block just doesn't look straight, you know?
Yeah. It looks almost like it was done for a stage set, and I know he was involved in a lot of theatrical productions, so maybe it was just meant to be background scenery.
He did a movie with Hitchcock.
I saw that.
I tried to watch it. I could only watch 30 minutes of it. It was I was not in the right mind frame to watch it, but yeah.
I was heard about that in the biography. It said he just kind of designed a dream sequence
Yeah.
in a larger Hitchcock movie.
Yeah, pretty
so
much.
he didn't like make the whole movie.
No, but he collaborated with Hitchcock.
What was the movie? Do you know?
Spellbound, something like that. It was like a very similar to dreamlike situations. Hitchcock likes to fool around with the dream world as well. I can tell when he makes like using the soft lenses to make it look very, very dreamlike. That's the only word I can think of, and I'm trying not to use that word because Dalí likes to use things about dreams.
Dreams are interesting. Sometimes I feel a little corny talking about them so much.
See, this is what I'm talking about, like the horse and the penis.
Yeah.
Like other. It just looks very. He's into that stuff, I guess.
He is. His relationship to cinema is pretty interesting because when he was in his late 20s, he did the movie with Buñuel, the Chien Andalou.
Have you seen it?
Yeah.
It's good. It's good stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to watch. Like when we were preparing for The Exterminating Angel, I rewatched Chien Andalou. I had to look away when the eyeball gets
Isn't
sliced.
that crazy? Like I saw that movie as a teenager, didn't faze me. Now we're older, and I'm like, oh god.
Yeah, body horror and stuff really kind of triggers me nowadays. I don't know why.
It's just maybe because we know what pain is compared to what we thought pain was as teenagers.
That could be it.
I saw a TikTok once of these surgeons getting ready to do surgery on a guy's eye. So they obviously, you can only see the eye moving back and forth, and they put a lot of water and liquids to moisturize it. But it really creeped me out because you see the knives are getting close to the eyeball. And it stopped there because it was a surgery done and the guy's okay and everything, but it just really scares the shit out of me thinking that. So
you could have seen it if you didn't look away?
Oh, no, they stopped it. They stopped it. And the guy was on drugs. Like, what do you call it? What's the word? My ESL's coming out. He was heavily medicated, so he was not conscious when this happened.
What is that word? Are we stupid today? What is anti?
No, not anesthetics. No.
Anesthetic.
Was he in anesthesia? Like,
is that what you meant? Or do you
I mean,
like...
he was in anesthesia, but I'm trying to say another word that's not anesthesia. Whatever. Heavily medicated, right? No, I don't know.
Yeah.
See, look, another penis.
Yeah, that's another one in their collection. I want to acknowledge something here that they said on the wall. This is their first retrospective show of just Dalí in their history, which I was shocked by because, and he died
1987
years ago, 34 years ago. So, and this is the first time they're doing this, but they owned like a handful, 10 to 12 pieces at least, but some drawings, some paintings. And they're always on view, so he's clearly a big part of their collection, the ones they have. But I was surprised that this is their first Dalí show and that it's fairly small, pretty modest size.
Just everybody wants Dalí, man. Everybody wants him.
Do they?
I feel like it, yeah.
Well, it was very popular. Like the exhibit, it warmed my heart. I think I said that when we were there, but like to see that many people turning up for an artist from 100 years ago when he was born, over 100 years ago.
One of my biggest regrets in life, sorry for cutting you off.
That's okay.
Is not going to the Magritte one because I heard that one was amazing too, and I like Magritte a lot. Cool.
Yeah, I prefer Dalí to Magritte, but Magritte's a little more like stiff and static in his work, and just his technique wise, his conceptual work is great. But the early work of Magritte from his probably 20s and 30s, I had never seen that stuff before that show, and that was really cool to see. And
it's a different form of, would you consider Magritte surrealism?
Yeah.
Because it's a different form of surrealism.
It's simpler, more minimalist almost.
Yeah. I guess that's the beauty of surrealism or any other subject, if you will, that depending on the individual, you can give a different meaning of that word. Like, has Picasso done any works of surrealism? He
I
does a
think
lot of
you
abstract.
could.
He does a lot of cubism, but I never think of him as surrealism.
Yeah. I mean, Cubism is kind of a surreal take on the world when you think about it, but he was never as flamboyant and fantastical as someone like Dalí. Picasso is more of a traditionalist in a lot of ways, just with his subject matter. He'd just like do 1,000, just this is a portrait of a woman or a nude figure or just not a lot of like just wild off the wall subject matter like Dalí would have.
Sorry, I'm pondering this. Maybe it's a stupid question, but I just wondering more and more like the life of an artist. You start, learning the basics, and then you start. I'm generalizing here. Then you start doing the more realistic things, like drawing a person and making it look extremely realistic. And then afterwards, once they're done with that, they try to find their signature, their original vibe, right? And they kind of forget everything they learned because they have their own original thing. So when I look at Picasso, I just ask myself, like, does he even, like, back in the day, I didn't know about his life, but like, does he even know how to draw? Like, I saw some paintings and I didn't think of anything well, but then I look back and he's a great painter. But like, I ask in this question is like, why is it that as an artist, as you get older and you're more mature and you're trying to get your own original, unique view, you forget your past, you forget your roots, you forget how to draw normally. Normally is not the right word, but like your paint, like your shirt. Like you forget how to do that, or you purposely, or you ignore to do it. Like, why is it that certain artists just choose not to do that? Is that like a rebellious act against that's rebellious act of that confirms postmodernist artwork? Do I make sense?
You might have to explain the postmodern connection to me because I don't really
Like
fully
by
understand.
postmodern, I mean like abstract art. Like
there's an element of rebellion to it for sure. Like, yeah, you can see Picasso drawings that he made when he was 13 or something.
Yeah,
of like classical busts and stuff. They're insanely good. So
and
obviously,
extremely detailed.
it was a choice to go in the directions he did, but why do bands make a couple great albums a lot of the time and then slowly kind of fall off? It's creativity is such a it's like a sine graph or something.
Yeah.
You spend a lot of time getting to the peak where your enthusiasm for making the art and your creative skill, your technical ability, like they reach a peak, a climax where they're both at full strength, and then one of them starts to fall off. And usually it's not technique. Usually people get better and better at like the thing they're doing, but they lose sight of why they were doing it in the first place or like what it means to them. And there's so many traps you can fall into. You can just start repeating yourself because it's selling and you need to make a living, or you just get bored doing one thing, so you want to do something else, and maybe the new thing isn't as good as what you were doing before.
Okay. What fears do you have personally in your art life, and where do you think the future of your art is going?
Like, I've been battling this exact thing myself lately because I look back on paintings I made 5-10 years ago, and I like things I was doing then a lot more than what I've been doing recently. So I'm trying to like find the right balance where I am looking back and reflecting on what has worked in the past, but I don't want to just repeat myself. So I'm kind of still trying to move forward, and I'm painting a lot different now than I did 5-6 years ago. I'm back to painting more traditionally with like opaque paint again, and I swore I would never do that. 3 years ago, I was so proud of the fact that, I use no white paint. It's all just the canvas showing through, like a watercolor, but in oil. But now I'm back to using white when I need to. So I'm kind of adapting, almost getting more traditional in some sense, but I want to get back to like the dreamlike state that I was in when I made stuff that I like the best. if that makes sense. So I don't know what the future is going to hold, but I think it's going to be a mix of past and present for me. Because you gotta look back. You gotta understand your past to know where you're gonna go.
Totally. Sorry.
It's okay. And did we talk about this in the show? If not, we can talk about it now. But I've had this revelation in recent shows I've been to where I find the drawings more engaging than the paintings.
I was going to bring that up. I was going to bring that. You said that in the show, and I was going to bring that up because I thought the most euphoric, like mind-blowing thing you said and during that time is what you just said, that you are more in awe with ink on paper or pencil on paper compared to that. Yeah. And I want to ask you why. I mean, it's weird because I'm not good at oil on canvas or acrylic on canvas or anything with color. I prefer sticking with pen on paper and that's it.
Yeah.
Granted, I'm not good at it, but I still do it.
You're great at ink.
Just stop it.
You can just have a slideshow of your ink portraits right now.
With Armin card drawings, which I still need to work on that. More political satire coming soon.
Draw Trump on trial.
Yeah, with small hands. I like drawing in small hands. No, but I wanted to ask you that. Like, what is it what is the simplistic? What is it that you like with that? Is it because it's simple, or is it raw? What do you enjoy, Dylan?
Yeah,
like this is one of them, right? Yeah, these are the ones. Yeah,
yeah. I think there's a couple drawings in them, but these were my favorite. I think I just really like the hatching and cross hatching. But drawings are so cool to me because there's no hiding the steps it took to make that drawing. You can see every stroke. There's no trickery like with an oil painting. There's hours and hours of layers of paint, and you can manipulate the surfaces you can hide all the brush strokes like we were talking about before. So you can't really see exactly the steps. But those you can see, you can count the number of hatch marks if you wanted to, and it's right there for you to see. And there's something kind of satisfying about the fact that it's accessible and humble materials that anyone can use. You don't need to buy a bunch of canvas and paint and brushes to do it. So it's relatable. Yeah.
I remember back in 2015, you had an art show by Rogers Park area where you only wanted to show your ink on paper or pencil on paper stuff. And they were really small, like 3x5 or 5x7.
Those are actually silver point, which is silver on paper.
Silver on paper. That was fantastic. It was nice. And I was kind of excited to see where the future of that's going to be. I thought you were going to do like a blend of that, like two sides of Dylan, the color side and the simple side.
That was a really weird show for me because it wasn't just that I was showing pencil. They look like pencil drawings, but they were silver point. But they were also super simple images, like a single figure. And I felt a little embarrassed of that show because those were one of the few times in the last 10 years almost where I've just drawn each image was from a photograph. I didn't take the pictures. I just found them. They were like screenshots from TV shows I was watching, and I would just take a figure out of it and draw it in silver point and maybe add another figure from another source. But they were so simple, and they felt so easy and like cheating almost to me.
What TV shows were they?
There were a couple that were from the Bachelor series, Bachelor in Paradise specifically, and the other one wasn't a show. It was from The Room, the Tommy Wiseau.
The movie. Can you do a Tommy Wiseau impersonation of him saying motherfucker? Because that scene when he says it, it's beautiful.
Does he just say that word, or does it in context?
It's like at the end, spoiler alert, before he kills himself, where they're starting to have a fight, and he's like, "Don't touch me, motherfucker."
Yeah, that was good.
Something like that. I can't do it like him, but it's so... I don't know.
He always sounds like he's drunk.
Yeah.
And can't really speak English and might have a bit of a speech impediment. Speaking of which, I want to take another shot.
Let's do a shot. Oh, here I'm talking about how I love how he manipulates and distorts the volume and not what is that volume like not where one place is going from one place to another, where you think something is big or small.
Perspective.
The perspective. Thank you.
Give me your glasses. On the floor over there. I'm gonna carefully listen back to this and see if I can notice anyone eavesdropping on our very intelligent conversations.
You're gonna edit it and just put a lot of sound to it, kind of like if we're doing ghosts, paranormal activity stuff. I send you some of those TikToks and it scare the crap out of you.
Well, I get really into it every time you send me one. I'll go to the person's page and watch like 5 of their videos.
Really?
And I usually come to the conclusion that it's
fake
for TikTok views. I haven't seen one that seemed really authentic yet on TikTok.
They're fun.
Maybe there was 1 or 2.
I hate it when I'm like, it's 2 in the morning and 4 in the morning. I just like go on TikTok and those are the things that are my FYP and I'm like, great.
I just watch a lot of that stuff.
But only at that time because during the day I get 1 or 2. But like in the middle of the night, it's like 14 of them in a row.
I'm just going to sip this. Like a real
Slav. Russian man.
Yeah.
Do you have Slavian or Eastern European blood in you other than the German?
I want to do 23andMe at some point because I really have no idea.
Robert convinced us. He did a good argument about doing it. I don't want to do it just because I don't want the government to know my DNA.
That's what I'm scared of. It's not even the government. It's a private company that's going to have your DNA on
and
file.
they can sell it to anyone they want.
Yeah, it's a little scary. And what if like our DNA becomes useful in different ways, like and like clone people from it? What if they start like making copies of us?
And then this will be like the Matrix, we're gonna be playing God because we're manipulating their DNAs to make the better human being and be involved for that and so on and so forth.
Man, I would not want an exact clone of my DNA walking around. That would be so creepy.
It'd be funny too.
I don't wish that on anyone. Living thing to endure this fate that I have.
This fate. Maybe they have a better fate than you or a worse fate than you.
Maybe, but I don't know. You mentioned in an Instagram comment that you were thinking of your future grandchildren. Is that something you want to have?
No,
kids
I'm not gonna.
Grandkids.
It's funny you say that because I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't want to have children. I don't want kids. I don't want to be a father. But this is the hypocritical part. I would love to be a grandfather.
Skip an important step there.
Yeah, forget having kids. But being a grandpa, I bet you that feeling is amazing. And something I won't have because I'm being firm. I don't want a child to call me daddy.
I don't know what it is about different people because I feel like I've always thought it seems attractive, to have kids and to have a family. I don't know what that says about me. So it's like all of my friends, like you, Robert, you're all like, we don't want kids.
Robert doesn't want to have kids.
Maybe I shouldn't be outing that on a podcast, but I can bleep that. But he's said the same thing. Like he's firm that he's never going to have a family.
Oh my gosh, I should hug him next time I see him. It's nice to have comrades that have this similar beliefs. Are these are still drawings or photographs?
These are photos, black and white photos from some kind of
like Vogue magazine, I think.
Yes, Vogue. If you're in the Chicagoland area, you don't even need to hear this podcast. You can go see the show for yourself.
No, seriously.
Would you recommend it after going to the show? If you had to pay full price for a ticket.
Yes, because it's Salvador Dalí. No, because I thought there would be more.
Mm-hmm.
But you should still go because you if you live by the Chicago area, you don't know if you're going to see Dalí in person unless you want to go travel to Florida, New York, D.C., Paris, Spain. those places. But if you have an opportunity, go. Granted, it might be a few of them, but you'll have it right then and there. I was thinking about taking my niece to this, and I'm kind of happy I didn't take her because
sexual content.
not only the sexual content is yes, the sexual content, but like I thought that would be more for her to be stimulated. It's hard. It's hard. I'm thinking maybe I'm projecting. I don't know, but it's hard to get a kid's attention unless there's a lot of stuff at an art show. Do you think a kid would find this interesting?
I actually think
a
they
7-year-old.
would. We saw a couple families with their young kids, and the parents were like pointing out all the weird things in some of the paintings, and I'm sure there's some kids right there. I think kids would probably be into it more than most.
But the parent has to
contemporary art.
challenge the kid. Like, look at that. Look at this. Sometimes it's nice to have a person like you who knows art to tell us, hey, look at this. Look, you're missing this perspective. You're missing what's happening here. Because like a normal civilian like me, I would be like a muggle like me. I'll be like, oh, okay, it's a drawing. But you're explaining more, the history behind it, et cetera, so like this. Like, I don't know what I was pointing at, but yeah. This is another example that you like the
drawing.
ink, the drawing, yeah?
Yeah, but honestly, the paintings do reward more close, long looking than those drawings. They're kind of like you look at it for 30 seconds and you kind of get it, unless you're really studying the technique. But the paintings have a lot more richly layered imagery and symbolism. So I still like the paintings more, but as I get older, like the drawings kind of draw me in first or something. And it's the same when I flip through an art book and I'm an artist. I'm curious about the drawings are really interesting to see.
I don't know your life that well.
You don't?
But I don't. I mean, I'm still learning about you. It's going to be a lifetime to learn Dylan Robbie. But I've noticed that what a lot of artists do before they start doing this big artwork on their canvas, they sketch a lot of their ideas on a sketchbook. They have ideas of what to put. Do you do that, or do you just let your subconscious go crazy?
I've trained myself to just let my subconscious do the thing for the first time when I'm on the actual canvas. Because otherwise I used to do that. I used to sketch the drawing and then transfer it to canvas, and it gets boring.
Not even sketch it on the canvas, just sketch it on a book. Yeah, this okay. You don't like that? You don't like that?
No, I used to really think that was the way to do it, but I realized that if you can...
Is that it? Is that over?
There's a second video. Oh. If you can overcome the fear that you're going to ruin this nice canvas and you just accept whatever happens on it, the final painting is so much more interesting because it has that element of chaos and lack of control that I think is better. It's more interesting. But yeah, I have sketchbooks filled with studies for paintings. They're super rough, stick figures in a rectangle, just planning it out.
Funny you say that because I made a joke during this.
Stick figures.
I said
right?
oh, Dalí with the stick figures, or stick man.
Stick figures a useful device, especially in the small landscape, distant figures. They're basically just sticks, maybe a little more of a specific shape than a regular stick figure. Is there anything else we wanted to talk about with Dalí?
I can't think of anything else. I mean, art-wise, the stuff is great. I don't want to talk about his life that much because it can get really messy. I mean, I don't like his fascist views. I don't like that he likes Hitler. Maybe he's kind of like maybe the Kanye West of
I was going to say
art.
that.
He's just saying it for shock value. But maybe he literally does mean it. I don't know. He's dead. He can't defend himself anymore. But he is a man of great art.
It's that contrarian spirit that everyone at the time, apparently when he went back to Spain from the U.S. and the Civil War and fascist Franco, right?
Yeah,
was
Francisco Franco,
in charge. Yeah. Everyone was like, this sucks. This guy's a monster. But Dalí was the one artist pro Franco.
Yeah, but if that was the case, why did he leave? See, that's where I consider him a hypocrite.
He left first because he was not making any money in Spain. And
excuses.
Apparently, Gala might have had the idea, like, we can make you a celebrity in America
Yeah.
if we go there, and it worked.
Yeah.
She was apparently a really huge promoter of his work. She would like shop around his paintings to every gallery and stuff.
I really want to know more about the relationship of Buñuel and Dalí as they got older.
Yeah, because Buñuel's anti-Franco, right?
Yeah, he's huge anti-Franco, but they were besties, you know. And then the Civil War happened, and they drifted away.
Yeah. Did they ever collaborate again on anything?
They haven't. Which is funny because they had many moments to collaborate or talk again or hang out, but it was that period. They did that movie, or they hung out, and that was it.
Interesting.
I will say because of this podcast, it got me really curious to learn more about Dalí and Buñuel. It's still on my bucket list to watch all of his movies.
Me too. I don't know if I'll watch all of Buñuel's movies, but the one you told me about, that podcast that sounded interesting, was about like the street kids in
That one's
the
hard
60s.
to watch. Yeah.
What's it called?
The Young and the Damned.
Young and the Damned. That one sounded cool.
Yeah, it's like, in my opinion, one of the first, if not the first movie of realism. Like I said,
Like kids?
like it was kids before kids. Like in the beginning of the movie, it shows a kid being abandoned by their parents.
Mm-hmm.
Like the parent says, like, stay right here, I'll be right back, in the middle of the street, and then they never see the parent again. That's how the movie starts.
Wow.
Yeah, dude.
So realistic. That happens all the time, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Maybe it does. Did it take place in Spain or Mexico?
Mexico City. Which at the time, Mexicans hated that movie because they was like, we don't want people to know the real life. Stop showing it. But he hated Mexico so much that he wanted to show the real life, and he made the argument, don't hate me because I'm showing real life. Hate society for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's a weird love-hate relationship he had.
My hairy ass arm in that video.
I don't know about that. I don't know if it's a compliment. It's a beautiful hairy-ass arm. Is this another...
Another drawing and another... it's the one where his face is melding with Gala's...
Yeah.
Gala. I keep...
Gala.
Her face. And it makes sense now why he would sign his name Gala Salvador Dalí.
I did ask you this at that event. Do you think he is a huge fan of Goya? Francisco Goya?
I'm
not
sure.
Not the beans.
I mean, I see
artist.
connections between Goya's fantastical... Like his prints. Have you seen the Los Caprichos, or the Disasters of War? They're series of etchings.
I only saw the one where one has his arms up as they're about to kill him, like in the firing squad.
That's a date, 15th of May or something. That's that's an oil painting. But I'm talking about just black and white and gray.
I've seen some, but I can't recall right now.
They're some of the coolest, weirdest images of visual art because they're just black and white, and but such wild stuff that is similar to the stuff he painted with like Saturn devouring his children and the Witch's Sabbath, but even more.
I don't remember
variety.
Witch's Sabbath.
It's a bunch of witches and like a goat creature, like
Baphomet,
demon, maybe.
Oh, I saw the
middle.
Baphomet one, but I don't remember witches.
Well, they're just women sitting around this. Maybe Baphomet.
I mean, isn't it interesting and amazing that like he could get away with that at that time?
Goya?
Yeah, he could get away with like showing Baphomet at a super Christian state.
Well, he was probably doing that stuff like on the side because he was the royal court painter for the King of Spain.
Yeah, and they were
portraits.
huge Catholic.
Right.
Yeah.
So he was probably just doing that because he felt compelled to do it, and probably not being commissioned to do that stuff or paid to do it, I would imagine. I don't know. I have to read more about Goya's life.
Did you hear the story about the Saturn one?
No.
Where originally Saturn had a huge cock. And so they...
Yeah, you were telling me about this.
The people who saw it, they decided to blur that out. They put black between his legs to make it look like a shadow. Because we're not happy with how the image was. But I think they did that like after he passed away or something like that. I don't know.
Man, some art historian, restoration person needs to remove that black paint and unveil Saturn's cock.
Can that happen? Can that be possible?
Assuming there was like a layer of varnish
Yeah.
on the original painting covering the whole thing, and then maybe they did the black paint on top of that, then you can remove that layer and preserve it. But if it was painted directly on the other oil, it's probably pretty tough to remove.
Okay.
Restoration science is really fascinating, like the science of maintaining and restoring old paintings. Remember that guy, Matt? Is that his name? Bert's friend and bandmate who was with us when we were recording our session. That's his day job. He like works
That's so
restoring
much fun.
paintings.
I bet you it takes a lot of work, but it's also satisfying. Just using a lot of Q-tips and clean the yellow varnish out.
And like a lot of times literally painting parts of the painting again, like matching the color. And because if paint's flaking off, you have to put it back somehow.
That reminds me, we were talking about Spain. Remember the whole Jesus thing that happened in 2000 tons?
I love that.
Oh,
Best restoration ever.
oh my God. And the woman had the ball, metaphorically, the balls to sue the church off of the money. So
like she deserves to be credited for making the famous meme.
Yeah, because the church is making money off of it because people saw how horrible it is.
You know, she has a point. She painted that.
But
should
she
get
did a
royalties.
horrible job. But that's the reason why people are there, because it's a horrible job.
I mean, if it's horrible but it still makes money, is it still horrible?
I guess that's a good question. That's a
She's
good philosophical question.
Her artwork has more fans and more people enjoying it than the original painting did. So she's at least as good as that artist.
I saw a TikTok again. Do you know that much about the abstract art world or no? I don't. So I don't know the names or anything.
A bit. What do you mean?
Did you hear about the controversy about this guy who drew a red, it was red art. I don't know what kind of paint it was, acrylic or oil on canvas. So it got destroyed some way or another. Like someone did it cut it or something, and people were trying to fix it. Some random dude's like, I can do that. I can fix it. So he took a stab at it, metaphorically, not literally, and fixed it. But at the same time, he ruined it. Even though he fixed it and it looks like new, looks completely original to what it is, art historians are saying that the way he did it ruined the artwork because it was a different kind of art, kind of paint.
Okay.
And he glued it, even though it doesn't look like it's glued. It looks good, but he ruined it.
I don't know.
I forget what it is, but this happened.
It was just a red painting.
Yeah, it was just a red, like red on canvas. It just looks red.
Was it a Mark Rothko? Was
Maybe.
it like hazy square of red, like
It's all red. It's all red.
solid color red?
Color red.
No brush strokes or anything.
No brush strokes. Maybe there is brush strokes. That's why it's known for having brush strokes. And he just decided to use a normal paintbrush, when you're painting walls, and just took a stab at that. I don't know, but there's a lot of.
that.
Yeah, I forget. I'll see if I can find it on TikTok and send it to you again. Maybe I did send it to you.
I don't remember that. But
No, I didn't send it to you because I don't know. You're not what do you think of abstract art?
Is that Birdo?
Is that Birdo?
No, it's some random guy
Random dude.
who might be knocking on doors to get people to vote for some mayoral candidate. They've been coming up and down the street all the time.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Tuesday, homie. Okay.
Let's not talk about that.
Yeah, I know.
I'm sick of hearing about it.
Unless you want to talk to Zach Hunter about it.
Because it's political.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, before Birdo gets here, maybe we should wrap it up and just talk about what the next topic is going to be, so we at least have time to get that covered.
Okay. Are you excited?
Yeah, you said it's music, right?
Yeah, it's going to be music related. Sorry, I feel like another
excited
person
to,
walking again. That's the same dude? No, it's someone different.
It's a different guy.
All right. Whew. Okay.
You seem nervous.
Because I've been thinking about this for months.
Well, that's your
this
fault
is
for
for
planning so far. In
episode
advance.
11, right? Episode 11. So this is episode 10, right?
Yeah.
So this is the idea for episode 11, unless we interview someone else.
Right.
Have you heard of Kendrick Lamar?
Of course.
Have you heard of the album Damn? DAMN?
Yeah, I haven't heard the whole thing, but I've heard a few of the songs.
I think we should listen to that album.
Cool.
But did you know the reputation that album has?
No.
So a fan found out and asked him via Twitter if that album is supposed to be listened to backwards, like the titles of the tracks going backwards from 1 through 17 and then 17 through 1.
And why would it be backwards?
Kendrick Lamar says, "Yep, you're on point. You're right." So on Spotify, you can listen to both versions, Damn and Mad. That's what they call it, and Mad, because it's backwards, damn, right?
Whoa.
So
Do you want to listen to it twice, forward and backwards?
yeah, you can listen to tracks 1 through 17, and the other album is 17 through 1. So I want to ask you this. Listen to that, and I want you to listen to Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon and tell me if there's any comparisons or similarities, because when I finished listening to the Damn album, that's the first thing that popped in my head.
Really?
And I want to know if maybe I'm the one who's just thinking that it's far-fetched, or maybe I'm thinking that there's a reasoning to my thought process. Mm-hmm. So I want to get what you think of that.
Very interesting. I was not aware of the forward and backward thing, but I'll check it out.
Okay. So that's for...
Should we also play Damn along with The Wizard of Oz and see if it matches up?
I mean, we can find a movie that can match it up.
Well, if you think it has Dark Side of the Moon qualities, maybe it matches up with the same movie.
With what? Well, She's Gotta Have It? Or it has to be Wizard of Oz?
What's She's Gotta Have It?
It's a movie by Spike Lee.
I think it should be Wizard of Oz.
It's going to be The Wiz? Or Drew with The Wiz?
There you go. Now you're on to something.
But
okay, cool.
I also want to tell you this so you can start tackling it. And this is the part that I'm like, shit. So episode 13, we can talk about it. But for the next decision, next option for me to choose, I'm telling you now so you can start fighting it. Black Sabbath discography.
Jesus, how many albums is that?
I don't know. Over 10. So
you wanted to talk about the whole thing.
Yeah. So damn. I'm letting you decide. We can do portions of it, and we can do like episode 13 part 1, episode 15 part 2, or we can just do the whole thing. I'll let you decide.
Cool.
I'll let you decide.
I've always wanted to.
This is me trolling you. This is me trolling you, by the way, because I know you don't like Sabbath as much.
It's not that I don't like them. I just like. I've heard the popular songs and I think they're cool, but I've never dug into a whole album. So that's cool. I'll listen to the discography.
Okay.
I want to focus on the good ones, though.
We're gonna listen to all of them.
But
not the EPs, not the singles, just the albums.
Like what's the latest Black Sabbath album? When's the most recent one?
2013, 2015, and it's their last one. Arguably, they only have 13 albums, 13 studio albums, but I know they have some like live albums too.
Okay, and you want to listen to all 13 studio albums or live ones?
I want to do live albums as well. There's only 2 or 3 of them, so why
like
not?
15 albums.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess I'll start now because it's going to take me like 2 months to listen to.
I know it's gonna. I'm gonna do it too. No worries. I'm gonna walk with you. I'm going to hold your hand as we do this. Just promise me not to talk about Sabbath until we're ready with the episode. And we can do part 1, part 2, or you want to do the whole thing. You let me know.
You'll take up your pick for episode 15 on a part 2?
Or part 17, whatever you think is comfortable for you. You just tell me so we can stop listen to it and all that stuff.
I mean, as if their career is stretching over 40, 50 years, maybe it is a good idea to break it up and like do the 70s stuff and then the more recent stuff or something.
Okay. All right, let's do that.
Because I want to start with the classics.
Okay. So part 1, we'll just do...
I don't know how many albums they had in the 70s.
Well, they had like 7 or so. Let's do with him when Ozzy was around. So everything before... Stop. When Heaven and Hell is in it, stop there. Don't listen to Heaven and Hell. That'll be part 2.
Who was the singer on that?
Ronnie James Dio.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because then Ozzy was doing a solo band.
No, they kicked him out.
Well, then he started doing Crazy Train and shit like that.
Yeah.
Well, this will be new to me. I'm gonna take it as a way to get deeper to one of my idols, Billy Corgan, who's always mentioned Black Sabbath as one of his favorite bands.
Really?
I just never really understood why.
Dude,
well, I know why, but
You blow me away with these Billy Corgan facts. Like first that and then Merciful Fate.
yeah, he's just like an 70s, 80s metal nerd who just also likes The Cure and folk music and just.
Is he the Smiths fan too?
I've never heard him name check the Smiths as an influence, and part of me feels like he wouldn't like them for some reason. But I could be wrong.
Oh, did you recently hear that in the news, in the music news, that the lead singer of Static X was in a band with Billy Corgan?
I don't know.
And that the lead singer of Static X refused Billy Corgan to be the lead singer?
I did not know.
This is like
about
back when
that.
they were kids.
When they were kids?
Yeah. Which the first thing that blew my mind is that the lead singer of Static X is from Chicago.
Huh. Yeah, well, Billy went to Florida for a few years with his first band when he was 18, 19, so it could have happened there.
Is it that band? Huh.
That band was called The Marked, and as far as I know, Billy was the singer, so I don't know. I don't even know what Static X is, so
It's that guy with the long hair that sticks up. They were big in the new metal scene in the late 90s, early 2000s.
okay. Not familiar. Cool. I've already got a guitar tuned to C sharp standard, so we can cover Tony Iommi songs.
All right, cool. Well, let's do it.
All right.
We'll have to talk about which songs to cover for
Kendrick
and Pink Floyd.
The only song I know on that is Humble. That's on Damn, right?
I don't know. I forget. It's been a
That
while
was
since
one
I
of the
listened.
singles.
I stopped listening to it because I want to listen to it for this.
All right. Well, I'll get started on that first. And yeah, sounds
Yeah.
good.
Now I'm excited for episode 13. What you're gonna choose?
I haven't decided.
Or for
yet.
13.
We'll take a road trip to the Dalí Museum in Florida.
Florida.
Podcast from the road.
Okay. Goodbye. Take care.
Thanks for
everyone.
watching. Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Don't
Like
forget
and
to
subscribe.
comment.
Don't forget to comment.
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 Share it to your friends, please. Oh, and I think you'll know by now, but we're in the audio world now, so you can hear us there.
Yes.
More episodes coming soon. Enjoy.
Yeah. Maybe we'll put links to our Spotify and Apple Music, RSS, something. I don't know. We're still figuring it out. Bye.
Bye.